In this financial discipline lesson, you're learning the exact strategy that separates people who build wealth from people who die broke despite knowing everything about money. 3:17 in the morning. Bank account balance, $47. You're lying there scrolling through financial advice for the third time this week. You know about budgeting, you know about compound interest, you know about the 50-30-20 rule, but your money situation hasn't changed in 2 years. Most people think financial freedom comes from learning more. Wrong. 73% of Americans can explain what a budget is, but only 19% actually follow one. The knowledge is there, the money isn't. Here's what nobody tells you about financial control. Your broke mindset isn't about what you know. It's about the voltage difference between knowing and doing. That gap is where your money disappears. And in the next 10 minutes, you'll discover exactly why you're stuck in that gap and the one mental switch that finally closes it. Connor learned every budgeting strategy on YouTube, still ended up negative $318 3 months in a row. Then he discovered something that changed everything. But first, there's one brutal truth you need to face. Financial education exploded in the last 5 years. Podcasts, YouTube channels, TikTok money gurus, everyone's teaching the same strategies. Track your expenses, cut the coffee, save 20% of your income. And you absorbed it all. You can recite the debt snowball method. You understand what high-yield savings accounts are. You know that lifestyle inflation destroys wealth. But knowing doesn't pay your bills. Think about it this way. A medical student studies human anatomy for years, knows every bone, every muscle, every organ system. But put them in an operating room on day one, they freeze. Knowledge without execution is just expensive entertainment. Your financial situation works the same way, which means in money terms, you're collecting information while your bank account stays flat. The average person watches 14 hours of financial content per month but takes 0 action on their budget. 14 hours of learning, 0 hours of doing. Here's where it gets worse. The more you know, the more paralyzed you become. It's called analysis paralysis in psychology. You've learned 10 different budgeting methods, so you can't pick one. You've heard 50 investment strategies, so you never invest. You're waiting for perfect knowledge before taking imperfect action. Meanwhile, someone with half your financial education is building wealth because they started 3 years ago with a simple plan and stuck to it. The gap isn't in your brain, it's in your discipline. Now here's the part that's going to sting. You're using financial knowledge as a security blanket. As long as you're learning, you feel productive. You feel like you're doing something, but learning without implementing is just procrastination with a college degree. Let me show you what's really happening in your financial brain. Your money situation is like a car with a dead battery. The engine is your financial knowledge, perfectly functional, well-maintained, ready to go. The battery is your discipline, completely drained. You keep studying the engine manual, reading about horsepower and torque, learning about fuel efficiency. But the car doesn't move because there's no power to turn the engine on. Knowledge is the engine, discipline is the voltage. And right now, you're running on 0 volts. This is why broke people and wealthy people consume the same financial content but get opposite results. The broke person reads the article and nods. The wealthy person reads the article and immediately changes one behavior that same day. Same information, different voltage. Research from behavioral economics shows that the intention-action gap costs the average American $11,000 per year in missed financial opportunities. $11,000. That's the price of knowing but not doing. That's retirement delayed by decades. That's generational wealth that never gets built. You're not broke because you're stupid. You're broke because you've confused education with transformation. Here's the brutal reality. Every day you spend consuming more financial advice without implementing what you already know, you're actively choosing to stay broke. Not passively, actively, because at this point you know enough. You've known enough for months, maybe years. The gap between your bank account and your goals isn't an information gap anymore. It's a discipline gap. So how do you close it? Not with more knowledge, with one simple protocol that flips the voltage switch in your financial brain. It's called the 24-hour rule for money management, and it works like this. Every single piece of financial advice you consume, you must implement within 24 hours or delete it from your mind completely. Read an article about automating savings. You have 24 hours to set up that automatic transfer or you're not allowed to think about it again. Watch a video about cutting subscription services, 24 hours to cancel one subscription or the information gets discarded. Learn about the cash envelope budgeting method, 24 hours to create your first envelope or you move on. This rule does 3 things simultaneously. First, it transforms consumption into action. Your brain can't hoard information anymore. It has to use it or lose it. This breaks the addiction to passive learning that keeps you stuck. Second, it creates immediate momentum in your budget. 1 action per day compounds. In 30 days, that's 30 financial improvements. Most people make 0 improvements in 30 days while watching 300 pieces of content. Third, it forces you to choose simplicity over perfection. You can't implement 10 strategies in 24 hours, so you pick the one that feels most actionable right now. Imperfect action beats perfect planning every single time in personal finance. Here's what this looks like in practice. Monday, you learn about tracking expenses. Within 24 hours, you download a budgeting app and enter last week's spending. Done. Tuesday, you hear about the importance of an emergency fund. Within 24 hours, you open a separate savings account and transfer $50. Doesn't matter if financial experts say you need 6 months of expenses. You started. Done. Wednesday, someone mentions cutting grocery costs. Within 24 hours, you meal plan for 3 days and make 1 grocery list. Done. Notice the pattern. None of these are perfect. None of these are complete solutions, but each one moves your money situation forward by 1 degree, and 1 degree maintained over 12 months creates financial transformation. The wealthy don't know more than you, they just have a faster implementation cycle. The gap between learning and doing for them is measured in hours, not months. Your gap needs to shrink from months to 24 hours. That's the voltage shift. Blake, 31, insurance claims adjuster in Atlanta, married 4 years to Emma, no kids yet. Salary, $3,800 per month. Living in a 2-bedroom apartment, rent $1,400. Woke up at 2:34 every morning for 8 months. Chest tight. Grabbed phone. Bank app showed $163, 12 days until payday. Emma didn't know how bad it got. Blake consumed financial content obsessively. Listened to Dave Ramsey during the commute. Watched Graham Stephan at lunch. Read financial subreddit before bed. Could explain FIRE movement, index funds, Roth IRAs, debt avalanche method. All of it. Knew everything. Account still showed $163 at 2:34 in the morning. Tuesday, November 7th, 4:18 in the afternoon. Boss mentioned overtime weekend shift. Blake thought, I should take it, need the money. Didn't take it. Went home, watched another budgeting video instead. Felt productive, took 0 action. Friday, November 10th. Watched video about automated savings. Made mental note to set it up this weekend. Weekend came, forgot, watched 3 more videos, still no automation. November 14th, 1:47 in the afternoon. Emma mentioned vacation fund. Blake said we'll start saving next month when things calm down. Blake had said that exact sentence for 14 consecutive months. November 18th, Blake had breakdown in car after work. Realized he'd consumed over 200 hours of financial education in 6 months, but his savings account had $31. 31 after 6 months of learning. That night, Blake wrote down 1 rule: implement within 24 hours or delete the information. Next morning, watched video about expense tracking. Immediately downloaded app, entered every transaction from last week. Took 11 minutes. First financial action in 6 months. Day 3, learned about automatic transfers. That same afternoon, set up $50 transfer to savings every payday, done before dinner. Day 8, read about subscription audit, pulled bank statement, found 4 subscriptions he forgot existed, canceled 3, saved $92 monthly, took 19 minutes total. Month 2 built up to implementing one financial action every single day, not big actions, small ones, cancel one unnecessary expense, move $20 to savings, skip one impulse purchase, check budget once. Didn't consume any new financial content for 30 days, just implemented what he already knew. Month 5, open savings, $1,940, first emergency fund of his life, built entirely from knowledge he already had 6 months ago. Emma said Sunday morning, "You're different now, you don't panic about bills anymore." Blake didn't become rich, became someone whose financial knowledge finally had voltage behind it, someone who sleeps past 2:34. Right now, do this. Think about the last piece of financial advice you consumed. Could be yesterday, could be 5 minutes ago before you clicked this video. What was it? Got it in your mind? Here's your next move. In the next 24 hours, you implement one piece of that advice, not all of it, one piece, the smallest actionable step from that information. If it was about budgeting, you create one budget category tonight before bed. If it was about saving money, you transfer $1 to a separate account right now. If it was about cutting expenses, you cancel one subscription within 24 hours. One action, 24 hours, no excuses. Because here's what happens if you don't. You're choosing to stay in the knowledge action gap. You're choosing to remain someone who knows everything but has nothing. And that gap costs you real money every single day it stays open. Your financial voltage activates today, not when you learn one more thing, not when you feel ready, not when your situation gets better. Today with what you already know right now. The brutal truth is this: you know enough to change your money situation. You've known enough for a long time. The only question left is whether you'll finally close the gap between knowing and doing. 24 hours starts now. Comment voltage activated if you implemented one financial action within 24 hours and felt the discipline surge in your budget. If you're done being the person who knows everything but changes nothing, the video on screen shows you how to maintain that discipline for life and never fall back into the gap. Subscribe, because every week I show you how to transform financial knowledge into actual wealth building. Hit that like button and drop in the comments what's the one financial action you're implementing in the next 24 hours. Let's activate together.